Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. And don't forget that tonight the Joe and Joe Weather Show is back at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. And probably on the agenda tonight will be Tropical Depression number three. And this formed this morning and is forecast to become a tropical storm tonight or at the latest Tuesday morning. And this is the National Hurricane Center's 11 a.m. forecast here. It would track mainly to the west or west northwest in time. Now, they do strengthen it to a hurricane, crossing it over the southern Leeward Islands and then having it just south of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands sometime on Saturday, but there's a lot of uncertainty in the long range, and I'll explain that in a second. But looking at the satellite loop, we're seeing a well-defined tropical depression, especially in and around the center. There's a lot of convection here that has developed. It's concentrated near the center, and there's no sign of any wind shear going on. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to become a tropical storm, if not this evening, again, perhaps tonight. There's another tropical wave behind it that is looking a little bit better organized today as well. So we're going to be following both these systems as they continue on to the west. A little bit more on that in a moment, but want to just take a look also at the smoke situation over the next 24 to 48 hours. We don't see any areas of dense smoke. There are a couple of smaller areas which is producing moderate amounts of smoke, and that could cause problems for those that are very sensitive to it. But on the whole, across the U.S., it sort of ebbs and flows, and we don't see anything coming down from Canada, the dense, heavier smoke that's up in Canada coming down, given the way the upper flow is. So we're just going to have to deal with what we've got, which is going to produce hazy skies, but nothing unbearable. And with respect to the fire and smoke map, just going to give it a quick refresh here, and you'll notice that there's the green dots when they come up. This thing is taking a while to load, so here we go. You know what? I'm just going to come back to this in a moment. Why don't we just? Oh, here we. Just, there it is. Okay. Uh, but the green dots that you see here in the eastern part of the U.S., swinging through the Carolinas, all showing moderate smoke. And then as we move up the East Coast, you start to see there's a little bit of a concentration of moderate smoke in southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, a couple of wildfires going on in parts of South Jersey as well, also in and around the Washington, D.C. area. But around New York City and points north and east, it's all green. And that includes southern New England and southeastern New England as well. So bit of good news, at least from that respect. Satellite looking nice in the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, down to Virginia and into North Carolina, but we are seeing some showers and thunderstorms early this afternoon in parts of South Carolina and along the Florida Panhandle, and also some other showers and downpours as well. Here's a close-up view of the northeast. A few milky streaks that would indicate a smoky haze, but again, nothing terrible. A little more concentrated as you go south and west toward Maryland and Delaware and into southeastern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. But on the whole, sunshine is doing its job, and we're having a fairly nice afternoon of weather. Radars are nice and quiet in the northeast and into the mid-Atlantic, and then you start to get into these showers and downpours and some heavier thunderstorms. You see the rotation here on the radar. There's an upper low that has formed over in Kentucky. This is going to be sitting in the southeast for the next couple of days, so there'll be a fair amount of rain here. But it's going to take a few days for this area to creep northward. So I think we're going to be fine, I think, at least into Wednesday or early Thursday. Storm Prediction Center for today is showing a slight risk of severe weather in North Florida and also in southern Georgia, down into southern Alabama and into southeastern Louisiana. There's a 2 to 5% tornado risk there for Tuesday into Wednesday. Again, along the Gulf Coast in Florida, marginal to slight risk there, also up in the northern plains. And on day 3, which is Wednesday into Thursday, still nothing to worry about in the Northeast and back to the Great Lakes. Some general thunderstorm activity in the Southeast and a marginal risk in the Western Plains. Rainfall's substantial in the areas from Virginia south to Florida. We're looking at many areas with at least 3 to 4 inches of rain, and some patches as high as 5 to 7 inches of rain. In the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states, it's mostly a half to 3 quarters, a little bit less in southeastern New England and back to Long Island. Also, some big rains in the central and northern plains, where we're looking at up to several inches possible here in this zone as well, extending back through Montana and into the northern Rockies. So, uh, just looking quickly at the upper flow, with this upper low that is moving down into the southeastern part of the U.S., and you see it here, the tropical system, what may become Tropical Storm Bret, is going to be moving underneath this upper high, which is right in here. You got this big upper high. So it's going to continue to go west or west-northwest at least for a while. The flow off the east coast is mostly to the southwest. So that suggests that if that were to hold, that we would probably be protected from a system coming too close to the U.S., but we'll have to watch how that upper low behaves and what happens to this ridge over time in the Atlantic. The European wants to have a weaker system that tracks further to the west, where the GFS has a stronger system, but that stronger system takes it a little bit more to the east. So it's the usual games that we have to play here when it comes to these models and what to expect weather-wise. So in the meantime, we've got all this rain that we're talking about for the southeastern part of the U.S. for the next couple of days. High pressure up in eastern Canada keeps us protected, but it puts us in an onshore flow. So that's probably going to keep temperatures on the coolish side in the 70s for Tuesday and Wednesday. Then, as the high gives way offshore, it's going to start to allow some of that rain to creep northward. This is Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, early Thursday has rain almost to about New York City. It might be a little fast. If there's more of a high to the north, that may be suppressed a little bit further to the south. But eventually, some of that rain is going to get up here into the northeast late this week and going into next weekend. So we're going to talk all about this and much more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, and that will be at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So we hope to see you then.